Welcome back. Of course, this is Sporty Monday, the most authoritative sports show right here, Citizen TV. Shitera, just before we took a break, you were discussing Commonwealth and maybe to wrap up Shuja's performance. What are your thoughts going forward? What must we do maybe to be able to match the best in terms of the rugby?
My thoughts are that I think after the pandemic, the takeoff was a bit slow. Bearing in mind that we are a country that is still developing. I believe that hampered into our preparations. Even the preparations for the Commonwealth Games was not top-notch, I would say, because National Olympic Committee and the Athletics Kenya and the federations, we do not see them do an intensive preparation for the games. This is an international outing that we needed to have put everything in place, ticked every box. But as it is, there are boxes that went blank. So in my view, it's just a wake-up call, because this is a platform that we have performed before very well. And as we analyzed last week and the expectations for Kenyans, I said it will be a replica of the World Athletics Championship in Oregon, or a little bit better or worse, plus minus the margin of error. World Athletics Championship plus minus a margin of error of around 5%. Better or worse than that. But again, we should pick up what we get from the Commonwealth Games and come back, and as you heard Michael Kinyi say, it's a benchmark for the next Olympics in Paris in 2024. But again, this is something that I usually ask. Why are we not well prepared, and we know there will be a Commonwealth Games in Paris in 2024? Why do we start preparing 2 weeks too? Why do we tie the preparations for the World Athletics Championships and the Commonwealth Games? We hold the trials the same period. So I think it's a wake-up call to the organizers, it's a wake-up call to the Ministry of Sports, it's a wake-up call to the federations that this is something that we will always fly our flag high, and let's take pride in it, and let's not put jokes in preparation.
Mukami, in the interest of time, in 30 seconds, you can just sum up the 3x3 basketball before we take it forward.
I think Kenya's made history. It's the first time the 3x3 basketball is being played in the Commonwealth, and we've advanced to the quarterfinals, you know. And the last game that they played against Scotland, they lost 15-14. They were leading almost the entire time. They lost concentration at the end, but then it shows they're up there. They're up there with the other teams. And, you know, Aroche is a, you know, naysayer of doom, but I think you're seeing moments like this are encouraging, because as we only focus on athletics, so to hear Kenya is doing well in basketball, I think is encouraging.
And a new discipline that's not very popular in this part of the world.
And you're seeing it's a lot of, two of the players I think play for the Morans, Larry and for him. And you're seeing the disappointment from everything that happened, the preparations. It's now a good step forward, at least for those players, to see now that they're doing better now here in Birmingham.
Good step forward, and we take it forward right here. And we are asking you today, which team in your view do you think will win the 2022-2023 EPL title? Which team in your view do you think will win the 2022-2023 EPL title?
We know the
of
team.
Course,
we know the team that will not win.
Can you just hold on, Shitera? We are going to sample some of your feedback at the tail end of this program. So tweet us at Isaac Swiller, at Citizen TV Kenya, hashtag Sporty Monday. We are going to sample some of them. And staying on football, Shitera, there's a new sheriff in town at Gor Mahia. His name is Jonathan McKinstry, the Irish national who's taken over at Kogalo Dugout. Shitera, new coach in town. Is it a good thing for Gor? It's a revolving door of coaches, so to speak. A new man in charge.
It has become a common thing, because the coaches that we employ day in, day out, why did the last coach leave? The same problems unresolved. he will still go through the same problems and he will go the same way. So these are the questions that we really need to ask ourselves, even as we hire new coaches. Why did the previous coach leave?
Andreas Speer, the German coach.
Yeah. Why did he leave? He left because of unpaid salaries. He left because of some structural issues. Have we resolved them? If the answer is no, then we're just postponing a very major illness.
A major illness, Arocho. Do you agree with Shitera, or do you think it's a right step for Kogalo?
I think it's a right step for Gor Mahia. Initially, Gor Mahia were not financially stable. At least,
are they now?
Yeah, they are financially stable. Going by what we saw the other day, they got a financial partner. And I'm seeing I've realized that Gor Mahia does so well when they have a British coach. You look at the history, you'll realize that when they have a British coach, they perform well. Something that really attracted my attention to his CV is the fact that this coach has been a coach in Uganda, has been a coach in Sierra Leone,
in Rwanda.
He got his pro license 7 years ago. He's a young coach. He's someone who is so vibrant. Because at times when you bring a coach into Africa, you need to also look at the fact that he knows what Africa brings as far as soccer is concerned.
Also East Africa.
Yes, the kind of infrastructure we have, the kind of atmosphere that is in African soccer, more so East Africa, going by Wawad. So I'm seeing Gor Mahia moving to the next step, good money coming in, good coach. And of course, the only disadvantage for Gor Mahia at the moment will be the fact that they cannot sign players. They only pick players from their youth team. So that might be for a while, they are negative, but the positives are many. They have money, they have a new coach.
But this money, Arocho, we are talking about, we are seeing gaming firms coming, signing shirt deals, then they jump ship even.
They leave when they want.
How issue are these again want to affect the club?
Well, as far as the contracts are concerned, I think the management can't respond to that. Though I have a problem. I share your sentiments because Ambrose Achir is a renowned lawyer in this country. And I wonder how he normally doesn't see the loopholes. But the gaming industry has not been stable for the last 3 or 4 years.
Thanks to COVID, yeah.
So you might also understand that it has not been stable.
Yeah. But I think in terms of Gor Mahia, they used to make fun of FC Leopards, saying how many times they keep switching coaches, and they seem like they've sort of moved into the same boat. But I think this new coach, McKinstry, the advantage is he's coached national teams, because you're saying they can't sign players from outside. So he's used to coaching national teams, Uganda, Rwanda. So he's used to playing with the local players. So they've brought in someone with that experience who can now take on the youth team. And I think for him, he sees it as a challenge, because a national team, you only have a few days with them so on and so often. So you don't really get to put in your philosophy, put in your game style. So I think he's looking forward to that, and it is the biggest club in East Africa. So it'll be interesting to see if they can challenge Tusker for the title next year.
Whether they can challenge Tusker or not, on the other side of Nairobi, of course, we are talking about AFC Leopards. They are counting the cash literally after signing a new deal with a new gaming firm, barely 2 days after terminating a deal with another gaming firm. Shitera, what do you make of that?
Some 4 years ago, I think FC Leopards were in the same situation. They signed a deal with a gaming firm. Then in 2 days, they jumped ship onto another. And this is what exactly you have alluded to. How watertight are these deals?
Yes.
If I can negotiate with you today, then leave you by the roadside and then negotiate with someone else, that shows you how delicate these deals are. The teams are left hanging when the sponsors leave, and they leave the same way the coaches leave, because a coach will say, I want to go and see my family in Europe, but when he arrives there, he will not come back. So the resignation of these local Kenyan coaches is visiting. So it's a good thing for FC Leopards that has really been struggling financially. It's a good deal for Gor Mahia. But again, how far are these deals, or how open are these deals? Because we really need to understand to know how much these gaming firms are putting into our teams. How much will go to salaries, how much will go to development, and how much will go to other issues in the club, so that we don't see all these problems recurring. FC Leopards, Gor Mahia have been having problems last season, and they've been having a sponsor. So we really need to have transparency. Even the players will need to have the transparency. Let's not go to that extent of players calling the club president that my rents are in arrears. The president will say, I'll sort you for the next 4 months. We really need to know that these players, their contracts have been respected. We really need to know how much has this firm signed with FC Leopards. How much will go into this, how much will go into this. That is the transparency that will uplift the Kenyan football, nothing else.
Just to pick it from where Shitara has picked it, I think it's kudos to Leopards. I've been talking about Shikanda, the stability. Once again, I'm going to say it. There can be a lot of negatives around the team, but when the team is stable, as far as the administrative part of the team is concerned, then you'll see things coming in. Yes, it was not good for another gaming firm to move out of the team, and then another one comes in. But all said and done, this one is just for the blessing of the team. I hope this time around I'll not be hearing that, oh, you know, KCB Football Club is performing because FC or Gor Mahia doesn't have money. So everybody now has money. So when we win because we are
Rocho, let me play the devil's advocate. Winnie will be giving us shortly that protest letter by Leopards, which they wrote to the partner just a day saying, you've breached this contract. There we have it. There's actually a letter by Leopards to the supposed partners. Then the partners shot back saying, you guys are not really being honest. You're talking with you're quoting other partners. And before we can know it, 2 days later, a new partner comes on board. And interestingly, Mukami, even as you weigh in, the new partner for Leopards actually is not somebody new in this market. This is actually a partner that sponsored Sofapaka, who are also competing in the top division. What do you make of that, really? I
don't even understand what he means by stability when he's talking about AFC Leopards. Like those two words.
No, they don't proceed.
Their worlds apart.
No, and you said Shikanda.
I will respond.
You say Shikanda, because here's the thing. Even that letter, the way it's written, it's so unprofessional. Saying, oh, you guys promised 2 million. You guys promised us 4 million. You gave us the 2 million. We did for you our things on social media, and then you've not given us the 2 million, so we are terminating the contract. It's like, why are you guys arguing in front of the public? It just feels so unprofessional. And even just the same way we were saying, the way the coaches have kept on moving, there's really no stability right now in AFC Leopards. Hopefully this coming season, they finished well. I can at least say AFC Leopards, once it was confirmed that Kimani was the head coach, they've really cemented, and like they played really well the second half of the season, and we're hoping to see that continues now that they've gotten money. But then the management hasn't been stable.
Can I respond?
Just hold on. This part of this paragraph, Winnie, if we can have it up, and it is saying, as a result of the breach of the agreement by the gaming firm, the club has been unable to honor its financial commitment to players, staff, and suppliers. Further, the club has ambitions to strengthen its squad during the transfer window. All these facts were within the gaming firm's knowledge, but they haven't met the end of the bargain. Now, that's a loaded statement. Assuming today this partner walks out, it means the club will be crippled. They can't meet the end of the bargain. They can't sign players. They can't run the operations. And basically, this is what we've been saying. The clubs must not be depending on a partner to run their own affairs. They must have option B. Whatever the partner is bringing on board should just augment what the clubs have.
Even that 4 million, what can 4 million really do in terms of paying salaries for the players, for the staff? Because, we've seen the new deal.
I'm itching to respond.
The new deal that
I'm itching to respond. But please, Shitera and Mukami,
Respond.
I respond in silence.
Respond.
What I mean is this. When I talked about stability, I talk about players signing stability. That has been a problem in FC Leopards. Remember, there's a time that FC Leopards brought in big stars, the Shikokotis of this world, and then the team could not sustain the paying these players. What I talked about is Shikanda and his team has been able to bring in young players who might not really be asking a lot from the team, but they've kept the ship afloat. Last season, when the season was beginning, FC Leopards didn't even have a goalkeeper. I remember very well. I went for their friendly, but you could see that the keeper that was there was not really up to the task. But look at the fact that Chikanda has kept the ship sailing, Shitera in silence. So the point I'm trying to say is that the fact that Chikanda played, he has that ability to identify young players and give them the contracts, perhaps because they didn't have money, that they could sustain. So what I'm saying is, now that they have financial stability, I'm seeing an explosive Leopards coming in this season.
You are being unfair. Before the dust settles, you are being unfair when you say that at some point FC Leopards could sign players that they could not sustain. I want to remind you that FC Leopards was banned. It could not sign players. And that was a blessing in disguise, probably for Shikanda. But don't come with that loaded statement that it was Shikanda's strategy. It was not his strategy. He found himself tied in a corner that they could not sign players. So they had to do with the academy players. And probably by default, that helped him. But I'm sure that if he had the leeway to sign, he would have signed. So that, I think, it's a lame excuse. It's a lame
before you
excuse.
respond, I'm told we now have Raburu online. Raburu, if you can hear me, heated debate here on Leopards and the cash and the Gor and what's not. Your thoughts on Leopards deal and the leadership therein?
Yeah, well, I think it's very interesting what is going on there. First of all, I agree with Mukami when it comes to the letters that was written and the professionalism, sort of airing your dirty and it was bickering, talking about throwing around figures, and the challenge is this: that if we go away from the actual issues of what is going on, because I'm sure Arocho seated there knows the truth. I'm sure Sula knows the truth. I'm sure Mukami knows the truth. I'm sure Shikera knows the truth. And the truth is that it was a push and pull. It is basic. People do this all the time. I have an offer. I threaten you with a better offer. If that doesn't happen, it goes. However, people do these things before you sign a deal. After you sign a deal, the onus is on you to execute the deal, to adhere by the terms and conditions. The challenge that we have is that probably they use a technicality to kick out one and put in another. Anyway, as Arocho said, if it will lead to some sort of stability, we'll wait and see. I will remind AFC Leopards of the wise Isaac Swiller's words. Make sure this time you have a proper exit clause. If you don't, we'll be here, God willing, to judge you again on failure. So let's wait and see what will happen. But I think it was a bit unprofessional. I don't think that's the way it was supposed to go. It is who need money, also the Arocho says that sometimes if you're a football team, you need money.
Talking of money,
let's wait and see.
Mukami, running a football team is quite expensive, and that's actually what Raburi is alluding to. Yeah. And we've seen this season in, season out. What's the solution? What does these clubs do so that we move away from this? We don't have a sponsor, they have pulled out, we can't sustain. That's not really how to run a club. What must they do going forward, even as we try to unravel the puzzle of who is going to manage the season next term?
before I get to that, I really wanted to respond to Arocho in terms of the whole stability argument. And you're saying, you can understand why AFC did what they did, because it was 4 million versus 195 million, so it makes sense. But with regards to Arocho, if we look at where FC has finished on the table the last 3 seasons, that's what I was looking at. 2019, they finished in 4th place. 2020, they finished in 6th place in 2019. Then they finished in 4th place 2020. Then they finished in 6th place last year. So it feels like they've just been average throughout. That's the stability you're talking about. But we're looking at one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest, the 2 biggest clubs in Kenya. And stability must also show on the pitch. So it's like, what's the difference when they were unstable, trading in coaches, not trading in? Yes, they've kept Patrick Awesomes this entire time, but they're still in 6th place. It's like it has to show on the pitch. The way you keep talking about your beloved KCB, and I'll now tie in what Swila was mentioning to me.
KCB is not any better.
What do clubs need to do to stay in it? And it's that constant funding. Honestly, a lot of these clubs, if you look at almost every club in Europe, they have a main sponsor. They have a main sponsor, and that main sponsor usually guarantees.
There's a shirt sponsor, there's a sleeve sponsor.
Exactly.
You go to training ground, there's a partner who is just bringing water to the team, and they're paying.
That is Rwanda fly.
Absolutely.
That is packaging. Yeah. And coming to your the sentiment that you've been talking about, that clubs need to have plan B. We are forgetting that football clubs, their core business is playing football, is not perhaps manufacturing something. The only thing that needs to happen is the entire packaging of the game. The moment the game is packaged well, then the sponsorship will trickle down. When it starts with the national team, with the federation, with the top clubs, of course, then everything else will come to place.
So, but in your view, what's the solution? Because we've discussed this over and over.
Packaging, Swila, packaging.
Making it attractive.
The game must be attractive. When you walk into a corporate office and you have an engagement with a corporate, the first thing they will tell you is that your football is in shambles. So basically what you sell out there will translate to what comes into the game. So first of all, we have to package this game. Let's leave these small squabbles. Let's look at what is happening in Tanzania. The GDP of Tanzania is way below our GDP.
Actually, we are now top
yes,
in Africa.
Yes, but look at the fact that Tanzania have packaged their game to an extent that, 1 shilling in Kenya is close to 20-something shillings of Tanzania. But look at the way they've packaged their game. They are so consistent in their packaging that everybody else is coming in. Lastly, the other day we saw the betting farm that was in Kenya. The amount of money they sank into Yanga was equivalent to what they sank to our national team. So this tells you so well that they have packaged their league to an extent that a club can be given money close to what our national team was being given.
Actually, let us not use so many words to describe something small. Accountability.
We lack it.
Yes. We lack accountability.
Thank you.
Because
it's part of packaging.
Yeah. If I can give FC Leopards, let's say 100 million, and then at the end of the season, when I ask them, what did you do with the 100 million? What profit did I get? If you are unable to account for that as a sponsor, I will not sign another deal. So that is actually what has happened with the Tanzania, as you say. We can benchmark with Tanzania. We can actually walk to Dar es Salaam. We can walk to Dar es Salaam and benchmark what has Tanzania Premier League done. Accountability, honesty is the only way to go.
Let's hold it there and move on now to Europe, because EPL gonna be back this weekend, and what a way to have a dress rehearsal. Liverpool, of course, showing they are still the kings when it comes to EPL, beating Manchester City in the curtain raiser. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, so guys, we'll be having that shortly, but basically Liverpool beating City, Mukami. Is it a statement of intent?
It's a big statement.
Yeah, it's definitely a big statement of intent in terms of, Manchester City have just bought the most desired striker in the world at the moment.
In Haaland.
In Haaland.